Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan using a party address to look staunch in the face of a US-backed Kurdish force on his southern border. He promised to respond with his own show of force, an invasion of the Syrian city of Afrin.
Just like we do not let the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, open their eyes within our borders, we are determined to vanquish them on the other side of our border. God willing, in the coming days, we will continue the operation to purge our southern border from terror.
Turkey has fought Kurdish factions within its borders for more than 30 years and doesn't want to see the Kurds gain power in neighbouring Syria. But the Americans have regarded Kurdish forces as an effective tool against ISIL.
The Kurds are the most effective fighting force against the Islamic State in Syria, and they've been very successful at that. That's the American purpose. But the Turks regard the Kurds and the YPG as a dire threat. They label them terrorists.
US President Trump promised Erdogan that he would stop arming and training Kurd fighters, but the Pentagon never made that official. Now Turkey is furious about reports of a new US-backed border force of 30,000 personnel with the Syrian Democratic Forces, a group largely controlled by the Kurdish YPG. They will reportedly deploy along the border of Turkey, Iraq to the southeast, and the Euphrates River Valley, the dividing line with Assad's military. The American-backed Kurdish YPG posted this online in December, purporting to show clashes with Turkish forces. It's in Afrin, northern Syria, the same Kurdish enclave Erdogan now says he will invade in the coming days.
Despite it all, we believe we have common interests with America in the region and hope we can act in concert, because the time has come to support Turkey and the time to give strategic cooperation is due. We expect them to support Turkey in our legitimate efforts during the Afrin operation. I hope these powers will not give rise to error by appearing on the same side as the terror organization.
Afrin could be the test for a difficult three-way relationship between powers in the Syrian war: Turkey, the United States, and the Kurdish fighters so hated by one side and supported by the other. Charlotte Bellis, Al Jazeera.
Cemil Yardan is one of many Kurds whose grandparents left northern Syria years ago. But he still has family in Afrin, which is close by on the Syrian side of the border. Cemil and his relatives there are growing increasingly worried as Turkey prepares for a military operation against US-backed Kurdish YPG fighters.
I'm no friend of the YPG. They recruit young boys and girls. That's why my brother-in-laws fled Afrin and moved to Istanbul 4 years ago. The weapons provided to those fighters by the US scares me. My village is the closest to Afrin. We don't feel at peace while our people are there.
The YPG is in control of the land just beyond this wall. The US reckons its fighters are key to wiping out ISIL in Syria. That's infuriated Turkey, which considers the YPG to be an extension of the PKK, a Kurdish group which Turkey, the US and the European Union deem a terrorist organization. Nevruz fled Afrin for Turkey 6 years ago, after the Syrian war began.
We can't go back to Syria. We came here and worked in farming with other refugees from Al Hes mountain from Aleppo. Everyone wants peace in Syria and Afrin because it's the civilians that get harmed the most.
Many Kurds living in villages near the border avoid TV cameras. Some have relatives in Afrin where military action is planned, and the villagers may also need to seek safety if the fighting does start.
The Turkish military is massed on the border and says it's ready to strike against the new border force, which it sees as a direct threat. At stake is the relationship of two NATO countries. Sinem Köseoğlu, Al Jazeera, Turkey-Syria border.